be white is to be racist. Period.
To be white is to be racist. Now, if you keep up with the news about what goes on America's college campuses, a statement like that isn't that shocking to you. However, that statement did not come from a liberal professor on a college campus. That was a statement said by a teacher in an Oklahoma high school during a lesson on white privilege. What's up guys, Sean here doing a video in conjunction with the David Horowitz Freedom Center and StopK12Indoctrination.org, and today we're going to talk about radical race theory being taught in our public schools. For those of you who don't know, the idea of white privilege is based on this leftist notion that the American system in its entirety is built on white supremacy. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, every government agency, every major corporation, anything you can possibly imagine is somehow connected to the white supremacy that is prevalent and behind every corner in America. Now, according to this conspiracy theory, due to the fact that white supremacy is the foundation of everything Americana, all white people are inherently racist, every single one of them. All white people are advantaged and benefited by the system, and this advantage is known as white privilege. And conversely, all minorities are negatively impacted and disadvantaged by the system. Now, as you can imagine, the idea that everything American is inherently racist and evil is pretty controversial. So the radical left in this country decided, why not teach that to our youngest children in our public schools? Now, this kind of indoctrination is going on across the country. In fact, a quick Google search will pull up results on how to teach public school children about white privilege and how America is racist. Unfortunately for the would-be indoctrinators, the fact that this practice is so widespread has produced a number of scandals related to it. For instance, in a Hampton, Georgia middle school, a student decided to pull out her phone and record her teacher in the middle of a 15-minute rant about white people and President Trump. During the rant, the teacher decided it was appropriate to tell her students, who were just 12 years old by the way, that President Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again," was actually a call to bring back the genocide of Native Americans, segregation, and possibly slavery. Now, as bad as it sounds to have a teacher in a public school openly using partisan propaganda against the President of the United States, that actually was not the worst of it. The worst part about the recording, which is linked in the description box below, is that the rant ended with the teacher singling out all of her white students and then calling them European illegal immigrant killers. Because in this teacher's mind, it was somehow appropriate for her to call 12-year-olds who were in her class murderers because of the crimes of people who lived hundreds of years before they were alive. Why? Because they're white, and the people who did the bad thing she was referring to were also white. In her mind, all white people are the same, whether they live today or hundreds of years ago. Look, we have to be perfectly honest about this. White privilege theory, in and of itself, is inherently racist. It attributes behavior, thoughts, and beliefs to people based solely on their membership of a racial group. And the idea that we should be fighting unproven white supremacy and racism hiding in all of our institutions by bullying kids based on their race is absolutely absurd. And if the goal is to help minority students by instituting this type of curriculum, that's also not gonna work. Take this example from North Carolina, where a second grader was given a pamphlet on white privilege to take home. Now, this pamphlet literally reprinted information from a left-wing article that was entitled, "No, I Will Not Stop Using the Term White Supremacy." The pamphlet had a bunch of information that supposedly proved this shadowy conspiracy of white supremacy that's permeating American society. And this information about how America's evil, racist, and rigged against this child was somehow meant to empower him. But here was the actual result.
Son comes home to me and asks me, "Mommy, are white people better than me?"
That's right, after being presented with this information that no second grader should ever be presented with by a public school official for any reason whatsoever, this kid was actually disturbed enough to believe that white people were inherently better than him. And the reason for this should be obvious. When you tell a child that the system is rigged against them and there's no point in trying, they'll start to believe that there's no point in trying, and you'll end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. In the past, I brought you numbers about the Edina School District in Minnesota, where they implemented a white privilege-heavy social justice curriculum. And the people whose test scores fell the most, the people who were most negatively impacted by this type of curriculum being taught in our public schools, were the minority students that were specifically told that this type of education will help the most. Look, this should be obvious. We can't have an educational system that's sowing racial division confusion amongst the students. This is why I've thrown my support behind the Code of Ethics for K-12 educators. Because we can no longer rely on the common sense idea that we don't teach children in our public schools to be racist towards one another. I encourage all of you to visit stopk12indoctrination.org and read up on the Code of Ethics. You can also keep up with other stories about K-12 indoctrination and report your own story. So check out the website, you can get updates on our progress in various states, and you can find out what you can do to fight against K-12 indoctrination. This has been Sean Fitzgerald for the David Horowitz Freedom Center. Till next time.